Would you believe I've never done a video explaining my feelings about Dead Space 2? Sure, I yap about Dead Space 2008 all the time, how it's a 10 out of 10 experience, a masterclass in action horror, but I never mentioned Dead Space 2. Let me tell you, as far as sequels go, Dead Space 2 blows a lot of things that Dead Space 1 does out of the water. From tighter controls, better gameplay, more mechanics, better enemy variety, animation quality, Dead Space 2 takes the fundamentals of Dead Space 1 and really cranks them up. It does exactly what a sequel is supposed to do. That's give us the first game again, but improve upon it. Where Isaac was pretty incapable in that first game with certain things where he's kinesis and whatnot. In this one, you're ripping limbs left and right and throwing the body parts back at them. There's loads of tools in the environment you can pick up and throw at enemies. You can blow the windows out to have the necromorphs flung out of the windows to get decompressed. The alt fire on the weapons, the variety of weapons. You even have all the weapons from that first game here. I don't think a single one's missing, but we have more. We have more variety with the suits. In Dead Space 1, Isaac would essentially glue new pieces of metal to his suit every time you upgraded it. In this one, each suit is its own design, and while some of them, and by some of them, I mean the advanced suit, for whatever reason, that final suit that Isaac gets in Dead Space 2, it just does not click with me. I don't know what it is, whether it's the pointy boots, the way the helmet looks, the slenderness of the outfit. It just doesn't work for me. But from him getting his classic Dead Space suit with a redesign, to the Riot suit, the best suit in the game, to the giant bulky engineer suit, I forget what that one is even called. But if you've played Dead Space 2, you know it. It's just the advanced suit that doesn't really drive me, but I do appreciate the fact that each suit has its own distinct look, instead of just being the same suit, but with more stuff on it. Really changes the design. Like I said, the control here is way better. Isaac's way more capable. Zero gravity isn't just jumping from panel to panel anymore. You don't like look at somewhere and leap towards it. Isaac can actually float in zero G sections now, and the animation quality doing so is so damn good. The controls, it's perfect. Not only do you have way more ways to destroy the necromorphs, there are way more designs, variants of necromorphs in this game. My favorite being the Stalker, the one that peeks around the corners and it decides when it's going to attack you. When you're in a room full of these sections are extremely tense, where you're trying to work out exactly where the Stalker's coming from. Such a cool design, such a cool concept, really welcomed here. Once again, Visceral has knocked it out of the park where sound design is concerned. It's superb throughout, whether that's the soundtrack when it decides to play, although it's very light on soundtrack. The weapons sound punchy, the necromorph screams are insane. They're way more aggressive here than they ever were in 2008. All the bits with the hallucinations that Isaac has, because dementia is really kicking in for this man, and he's really losing it, so you're going to get visions throughout the game. It really adds to the horror atmosphere. The set pieces, the bosses, Dead Space 2 really turns everything up to 11. It's such a good sequel. That being said, why don't I personally think that Dead Space 2 is better than Dead Space 1? Listen, if you are watching this video and you think Dead Space 2 is the best the franchise has to offer, I'm not gonna even bother arguing with you. I love this game. If Dead Space 1 to me is a 10 out of 10, Dead Space 2 to me is a 9.5. While I appreciate that it does a lot right, it improves on a hell of a lot, I also understand its issues, and it can get annoying by the end of the game. So you're going to hear a few people say that Dead Space 2 turned its action up far too much, to the point where it's not even a horror game anymore, it's just an action game. While I disagree with that, I don't believe this is the Resident Evil 5 of the Dead Space franchise. I do understand it. By the time you get to the end of the game, while the game does have way more variety where enemies are concerned, it does start locking doors a lot of the time. You'll enter a room, it'll lock the door, it'll send the same 5 enemy types into you. You've got to fight them before you can leave the room. It just gets very repetitive very quickly, and all the horror goes out the window, and it just becomes a horde shooter. And while it does work in a gameplay sense, you're still having fun. It's still Dead Space 2. I think from being an action horror, feel like they messed the balance up just slightly. The thing is with Dead Space 1, Dead Space 1 is Resident Evil 4 in space. But while Resident Evil 4 invented the action horror genre, Dead Space perfected it. Dead Space took it and went, how do we make this work where we don't take any control away from the player, we make sure they're capable, but we always make sure that the tension's high and the scares are intact. Dead Space 2 keeps the tension high, keeps the scares intact, but where the action balance is concerned, they really do overdo it just slightly, enough for me to complain about it. And like I said, the first 3/4 of this game, I'm not feeling this way. I'm just like, this is so good. This is better than the original. This is the best game ever made. And then by the time I've finished it, I'm like, damn it, you were so close. You just cocked it up near the end. Like I said, if you think that this is better than the original in every single way, I'm not even going to argue with you. It's just a taste thing. I personally like how slower paced Dead Space 1 is compared to Dead Space 2. Dead Space 2 is borderline like a Doom game. It's so fast paced, the action's so frantic. You just need to stick some heavy metal on and start destroying these necromorphs. It's such a good game. It's such a good experience. The graphics are absolutely insane for the time. The animation quality is the best it's ever been. The gameplay is the best it's ever been. This is a masterclass. I just don't think it hits the high of that first game. While it does improve the gameplay, and gameplay is king, it cocks up in other places that hold it back from the greatness. That being said, does Dead Space 2 need to be remade? No, it doesn't. It never needed to be remade. It never needs to be remade. Dead Space 1 didn't need it. I get it. It's not as accessible as a lot of games, but on Xbox, it's on everything. It came out on the 360. It's backwards compatible on Xbox One. You can play it on an Xbox One X. It's on Series S. It's in Game Pass. It's on the Series X. I don't want to talk too much about the Series S. Don't have one. But a Series X has FPS boost. That means Dead Space 2 is now 60 FPS. It's borderline a remaster. Now, would I prefer if EA would just remaster the first 3 games and change the lighting, the texture quality to 4K, all that jazz? Absolutely, but that's not what we've got here. We have to talk about what's available. You've got PS3, Xboxes, and then you've got PC. From my understanding, the PC version is a good port. That's not me talking from personal experience. I've only ever played the first game on PC, and that port was a bit of a mess. But where Dead Space 2 is concerned, I'm pretty sure I've heard nothing but good things about it. So I'm assuming it works well, and you don't have to cock around with modding it and making sure it works and fixing the frame rate just to get past the door. Doesn't seem to be an issue with this game. But anyway, yes, it's not accessible. Yes, I would like it remastered. No, it does not need a remake. It is superb. Dead Space 2, not quite the first one for me personally, but I understand why it is for a lot of people. Absolute masterclass. Anyway, that's all I got on Dead Space 2. If you're new here, subscribe. These are the games I talk about, action horror mainly. There are a few other games that I'll talk about, but for the most part, this is my jam. If you like these kind of games, stick around. You're more than welcome to chime in on how you feel about Dead Space 2, whether you think its action goes a little bit too far, you think that's perfectly balanced. Let me know down below, is this your favorite Dead Space game, etc, etc. But anyway, that's all I got, people. I'll catch you later.